Tyrell Lawson was not your typical billionaire. While others flaunted their wealth with flashy cars and giant mansions, Tyrell preferred to stay out of the spotlight. He had worked hard to build his empire, but now he wanted to do something different. He wanted to make a real, personal impact. And so, he bought a small, local restaurant in a quiet part of the city. It wasn't a high-end luxury restaurant with Michelin stars. Instead, Tyrell saw potential in this little eatery, a place that, with the right care and attention, could become a community favorite. But Tyrell had one rule for himself. He would remain anonymous to the employees. They wouldn't know who he was. Tyrell wanted to see how the restaurant was run when no one knew they were working for a billionaire. He didn't want special treatment. He simply wanted to observe, learn, and make changes only when necessary. The first visit. On a rainy Thursday afternoon, Tyrell decided to make his first visit to the restaurant. He wore a simple hoodie, jeans, and sunglasses, hoping to blend in. As he entered, the restaurant felt somewhat cold and unwelcoming. The clinking of dishes and the hum of conversation filled the air, but something was missing. There was no energy, no enthusiasm. It didn't feel like a place that customers would return to again and again. Tyrell sat at a corner table where he could see everything. The staff was moving quickly, but there was a sense of indifference in the air. He waited patiently for a server, and soon a young man named Marcus approached his table. Marcus didn't smile much, and there was a hint of impatience in his voice as he greeted Tyrell. "What can I get you?" Marcus asked flatly. Tyrell smiled warmly. "I'll have the chef's special pasta, please." "I'm curious, though. Can you tell me a little about the ingredients in the dish?" Marcus, barely making eye contact, responded with a short and somewhat annoyed tone. "It's pasta. It comes with sauce and cheese. What else do you need to know?" Tyrell raised an eyebrow. He had hoped for a more thoughtful response, but Marcus's attitude was clear. "I see. But what kind of cheese is used? And is the sauce made fresh?" Marcus' face showed a mix of annoyance and frustration. "It's just pasta, man. What do you want me to say?" he snapped. "If you don't want it, I'll take it back." Tyrell sat back, surprised by the rude response. He hadn't expected much, just a little bit of curiosity about the meal. After all, a good restaurant should be proud of its food. He didn't feel like making a scene, so he simply nodded. "No, it's fine," Tyrell said. "I'll pass on the meal." Marcus quickly grabbed the plate and walked off, muttering under his breath. Tyrell couldn't help but feel disappointed, not by the food, but by the service. He had hoped for a better experience. He wanted to see how the restaurant treated its customers, but this was not what he expected. The second chance. As Tyrell sat in silence, thinking about the interaction, he noticed a new server walking towards his table. This one was different. She had a calm, friendly demeanor, and she smiled as she approached him. "Hi there," she said with a warm smile. "I'm so sorry about the way you were treated earlier. Marcus has been a little distracted today. Let me take care of you." Tyrell was surprised by the genuine apology. He had expected to be ignored or brushed off, but instead, the new server, Jasmine, was kind and sincere. "I'd love to hear more about the dish," Tyrell said, hoping for a more positive interaction this time. Jasmine smiled and nodded. "Of course. The chef's special pasta is made with sun-dried tomatoes, fresh basil, and Parmesan cheese imported from Italy. The sauce is made fresh every day, and we take great pride in our recipes. It's one of our most popular dishes." Her explanation was filled with care and enthusiasm. She spoke about the food as though it were her own creation, and Tyrell could tell that she genuinely loved what she did. Her professionalism and kindness were a sharp contrast to Marcus's rude attitude. "That sounds amazing," Tyrell said, now genuinely interested. "Thank you for taking the time to tell me about it." Jasmine smiled again, her eyes lighting up. "I'm happy to share. I want to make sure you have the best experience possible. If you need anything else, just let me know." As Tyrell ate his meal, he couldn't help but feel a sense of satisfaction. The food was delicious, but it was the service that made the difference. Jasmine had gone above and beyond to make him feel valued as a customer. He appreciated that she had taken the time to make his experience better, even though she had no idea who he really was. A moment of reflection. As he finished his meal, Tyrell leaned back in his chair and reflected on what he had just experienced. The difference between Marcus and Jasmine was night and day. While Marcus had been impatient and dismissive, Jasmine had been warm, engaging, and knowledgeable. It was clear to Tyrell that the restaurant had a lot of potential, but the staff's attitude was holding it back. He wanted this place to succeed, not just in terms of food, but in terms of the experience it offered customers. He believed in the importance of kindness, respect, and professionalism, not just in business, but in every aspect of life. Tyrell had always prided himself on treating people with dignity, no matter who they were, and he believed that the restaurant should reflect the same values. As he left the restaurant that afternoon, Tyrell made a decision. The next time he returned, he would reveal his true identity to the staff. It was time to make some changes, to show them what true leadership looked like. Tyrell Lawson walked into the restaurant the next day, this time with a plan. He had dressed in a sharp suit, his confident presence unmistakable. As he stepped through the door, the staff immediately took notice. Gone was the casual hoodie and jeans. This was the man who had bought the place, and now it was time for everyone to know who he was. Tyrell's calm demeanor commanded attention as he walked to the front of the restaurant. The staff, including Marcus and Jasmine, stood in the back, still unaware of what was about to unfold. The big reveal. Mr. Walker, the previous owner, was already waiting for Tyrell. He had heard the rumors about his new boss being a billionaire, but seeing him in person was something else. He wasn't flashy or arrogant, just a man with a purpose. "All right, everyone, gather around," Mr. Walker called out. There was a mix of confusion and curiosity as the employees came forward, unsure of what was happening. They had no idea that their new boss was standing right in front of them. Tyrell stood tall, his eyes scanning each person as they took their place. "I want you all to meet someone very important," Mr. Walker continued. "This is Tyrell Lawson. He's your new owner." A stunned silence filled the room. Several employees exchanged looks of disbelief. Tyrell didn't look like the type of person they imagined as a restaurant owner. He wasn't wearing designer clothes or carrying the usual signs of extreme wealth. He looked like anyone else, just a person who cared about his business. Tyrell's voice broke the silence. "I'm excited to be here. I've heard a lot of good things about this restaurant, but I want to make sure we're all on the same page. This is about more than just serving food. It's about providing the best customer experience possible." The room was still quiet. Most of the staff had no idea how to react. They had expected a dramatic entrance, maybe a grand speech. But Tyrell wasn't here for drama. He was here for a purpose, the moment of truth. Then Tyrell turned his attention to Marcus, the server who had been rude to him just the day before. Marcus stood near the back, looking nervous. He must have realized that the calm, well-dressed man standing before him was the very person he had treated poorly. Tyrell's gaze was firm but calm as he spoke directly to Marcus. "Marcus, can I have a word with you?" Tyrell asked. Marcus swallowed hard, his face turning red. He walked toward Tyrell, the tension in the air thickening. Tyrell could sense the unease in Marcus, but he was ready to confront him. "Yesterday, you were rude to a customer, and I don't care if that customer is a billionaire or just a regular person. You can't treat people like that," Tyrell said, his tone unwavering but not angry. Marcus opened his mouth to speak, but Tyrell raised his hand to stop him. "I get that people have bad days, but when you work in a place like this, you represent more than just yourself. You represent the restaurant and the way we treat people," Tyrell continued. "And you can't afford to treat people poorly just because you're having a bad day." Tyrell paused for a moment, letting his words sink in. The staff watched in silence, not knowing what was coming next. "You're fired, Marcus," Tyrell said plainly. I can't have an employee who treats customers like that. No one deserves that kind of treatment. A shocked silence hung in the air. Marcus stood there, his mouth open in disbelief. He had no idea he was going to be let go. Tyrell didn't raise his voice or make a scene. He simply took action. Marcus didn't say anything. He just turned and walked out, his head low. The shift in the atmosphere. Tyrell turned to the rest of the staff, his eyes meeting theirs. I know this might be a surprise to some of you, he said, but I believe in treating every customer with respect. I'm not here to make enemies, but I am here to set a standard. I want this place to be more than just a restaurant. I want it to be a place where people feel like they're being treated like family. There was a moment of quiet as the staff processed his words. Then Jasmine, the server who had treated Tyrell with kindness the day before, stepped forward. She smiled at him, her voice steady but full of warmth. Thank you for giving us the chance to be better, Jasmine said. I believe in what you're saying. I want this place to succeed, and I'll do my best to make sure that happens. Tyrell smiled back at her. I appreciate that, Jasmine. You're the kind of person I want on my team. The atmosphere in the restaurant began to shift. Where there was once uncertainty, there was now hope. Tyrell wasn't here to tear things down. He was here to build something better. His leadership wasn't about control. It was about respect and collaboration. A new beginning. Tyrell spent the next few weeks working closely with the staff. He didn't just sit in his office. He was hands-on. He took the time to get to know each employee, offering guidance, support, and encouragement. Slowly but surely, the atmosphere in the restaurant began to change. The staff became more engaged and more motivated to provide a great experience for every customer who walked through the door. The food improved as well. Tyrell encouraged the chef to experiment with new dishes, and he worked closely with the kitchen staff to make sure the menu reflected the highest quality ingredients. He wanted to elevate the restaurant, not just in terms of business, but in terms of its impact on the community. The word started to spread. Customers noticed the difference. They felt welcomed, respected, and cared for. Tyrell's leadership had breathed new life into the restaurant. It was no longer just a place to grab a meal. It was an experience people wanted to return to. The final test. One evening, Tyrell sat in a booth near the back of the restaurant, enjoying his meal. As usual, Jasmine came to check on him. She asked how everything was, and he smiled, giving her a thumbs up. It's perfect, Jasmine, he said. You've all done an amazing job. I'm proud of the progress we've made. Jasmine smiled, her eyes shining with pride. It's all thanks to you, Tyrell. You showed us what true leadership looks like. Tyrell leaned back in his chair, taking a moment to reflect. The restaurant had come a long way, and so had the staff. He had proven to them that success wasn't about titles or wealth. It was about creating an environment of respect, kindness, and excellence. As he finished his meal, Tyrell felt a sense of fulfillment. He hadn't just bought a restaurant. He had built something meaningful. And in doing so, he had shown everyone that leadership wasn't just about calling the shots. It was about leading by example.